Hi guys, I'm doing my labor and delivery story today. If you haven't checked out my actual labor and delivery, I have already posted that video if you want to go check that out first. But today I'm going to just be telling you guys all about my labor and my delivery and all of that stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm really white. The lighting is crazy. There's so much sun outside. But I'm just going to get right into the video. So basically Wednesday, September 28th, that's when I turned 38 weeks. I had been feeling a little bit of cramping and I had spotting, but it was literally lasted like once I went to the bathroom the second time I didn't have any spotting again. And then on September 29th, I was 38 weeks and 1 day, and I had been spotting, and I had ended up spotting that entire day, and I had cramping that entire day at school. And I had an appointment that day at 2:15, and they were going to check my cervix. So basically, when I went there, the guy that was supposed to check my cervix, the doctor, he was not there because he was delivering another baby. So I was kind of upset because I really did like him and he's like really good. But I had the other nurse do it, and I don't want to be rude, but I didn't really like her as much just because it was nothing against her, but it was actually not even uncomfortable, but it was actually painful when she checked my cervix, and she's checked it twice. So this was the second time she checked it, and it actually was painful. And she told me, "Oh, your cervix is still closed, so I will see you next week." And it kind of like made me mad, she was a little impersonal, and I had told her my concerns about my spotting, and she's like, "Oh, that's just a part of it. You're fine. I'll see you next week." And I just said, "Okay, that's fine." And of course, going home, I was a little upset because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be pregnant for forever." I kept telling my mom, I was like, "She's gonna be late." And I was just like in a really bad mood at that point. And I was like, she made it 10 times worse. Because I felt like the cramping got even worse after she checked it. But yeah, at that point I went home, and around 7 I had Braxton Hicks contractions, and they started to progress, and around 8:50 they got to the point where I kind of had to sit there, and I was like, wow, that was painful, but they weren't extremely bad. So I went to bed around 9 o'clock, and mind you, I woke up at 10:39 with contractions. From 10:39 p.m. all the way until the 1st of October, I got an hour of sleep because I had her in the morning, and that was it. I didn't sleep until the next day. So I literally ran on 1 hour sleep, which I thought was absolutely crazy. But at 10:39 p.m. on September 29th, I started having contractions. They weren't terrible, but they did keep me up. So from then on, I didn't sleep. Around 12, they were really bad though, so I decided to tell my mom and let her know that I was something was different, and she told me they were probably contractions and to put on my heating pad, which I did, which helped for a little bit, but then they started getting worse and worse, and they got to the point where I held my breath and I was like, I need to breathe, I can do this. I was kind of freaking out a little bit. But it was fine. Around 2 a.m. in the morning, I was like, okay, I cannot take this pain right now. Literally, it was the worst pain. So I told my mom, again, they're getting worse. So she said to take a bath. So from 2:15 to 3 a.m., I took a bath, which helped substantially. The contractions, they were still there, obviously, but they weren't nearly as harsh. And it was really relaxing, and the bath was just a really good idea. I'm sorry if you can hear her, she's snoring. But yeah, I took a bath, and then I got out around 3-ish, and then I came to my room and then kind of try to relax, but the contractions were getting super bad. So my mom came into my room around 4 a.m. and told me I needed to call and tell Angelo. And Angelo had work at 4:45, so he was gonna wake up for work at 4:45 anyway. So I went ahead and called him and told him that I was having really bad contractions, and he said, "Oh, okay, well, I will be there at around 2 is when I got off work." And I was like, "No, I don't think I'm gonna make it to 2. And he's like, "Oh, okay." So he came up, and he got here around 5:30-ish, and I was sitting on the couch with my mom, and she was kind of just helping me when I was having contractions. And when he got there, he was comforting me and all that stuff. and I sat there until 6 a.m. The reason we were trying to stay there as long as possible at my house is because at around 8 a.m. is when my doctor's office opened, and they told me if you go into labor, come into the doctor's office, we'll check you and tell you if you should go to the hospital. So we were trying to wait until 8 a.m., which is unbelievable. But at 6, I was like, okay, I can't do this pain anymore. We need to go. So we had put everything in the car, made sure we didn't forget anything, and we headed to the hospital. Mind you, the hospital was 28 minutes away. We didn't get there for 35 minutes because not only was there traffic, but there was construction happening, which was just great. So the drive literally felt like forever. At this point, my contractions were so bad, I literally wanted to, I kept telling everyone I couldn't do it. I can't do this. This is too painful. I was saying, ow, ow, ow. It hurt so bad. And we finally made it to the hospital around 7. And they gave me a wheelchair and wheeled me into this smaller room, and she asked me for a pee sample, which was ridiculous because I was literally in so much pain. I thought I couldn't pee. I honestly kept telling my mom, I was like, no, I have to poop, to be honest. And she's like, no, that's just the baby. So that was an unbelievable amount of pressure, and it was undescribable. But I finally did pee in the cup, and she basically told me, okay, I'm gonna check you, but you are not going to be allowed to go to the delivery room unless your water broke, you're bleeding, or you're at 6 centimeters. And I was like, great, I'm going to be sent home and this pain is just going to get worse. She checked me and she was like, you're 6 centimeters, you're probably gonna have your baby today. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? 6 centimeters? That is crazy. I stayed home for that long. That is just, I'm so proud of myself. You guys have no idea. So they wheeled me to the delivery room, and I was having contractions every minute. They were super bad. And I got into the delivery room. She kind of put the IVs in, the fluid, whatever. And she's like, okay, well, the doctor is going to come in to give you your epidural. Literally, it probably took 5 minutes, but it felt like hours for him to come. And he came running in. He was super, super nice and super helpful and talked me through the whole thing. And once I got the epidural, it started working so fast. And when he was putting the needle in, I know a lot of people said that they felt it. I was having a contraction while he was putting the needle in, so I did not feel the needle. I was too busy being in pain at that point. So I did not feel the epidural at all, which I was super scared I was going to, because I'm needles, I can't do them. But yeah, it did not hurt. The IV in my hand did not hurt either. I was so too much into thinking of having a baby that I didn't even think about the IV. And the nurse was really nice when I was getting the epidural. She was scratching my back and telling me I was doing really good and all that stuff. So they were super, super nice. Once I got the epidural, they checked me again and they're like, you're 8 to 9 centimeters. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I got my epidural around 7 centimeters dilated, and I was already 8 to 9. And it was funny because my mom had told everyone hey, she's gonna, she's already 8 to 9 centimeters, and everyone was freaking out because they weren't there yet. But yeah, it happened so fast. It was crazy. Once I got that epidural though, I felt great. I was vlogging, no pain. I was good to go. The epidural literally made my life so much better. And then they told me to expect her around 10:30. So 10 came around, and then they checked me and I was 10 centimeters dilated. The nurse came in and told me to push just a little bit to see kind of where she is. And she was like, okay, she is a fingertip away. We are going to start pushing. Let me just call in the doctor. So I had started pushing before the doctor got there, and then they had me stop pushing. And he came in and I pushed a total of 10 times, and it was a little scary because why are you making those noises? It was a little scary because the doctor was like, okay, the umbilical cord is wrapped around her neck. So I was a little nervous, but he wasn't worried about it at all. And a lot of you guys are saying that he looked really rude and impersonal, but he was super, super nice. And I really, really liked him, 100%. He was amazing. But I pushed 10 times, and then she was here. I did tear a little bit. I only had one stitch though, so it wasn't anything dramatic or bad or anything like that, and I'm healing really well. But after she came out, they just laid her on me, and then she weighed 5 pounds 15 ounces. She was born at 10:27 a.m. She was 19 inches long, and her head was 13 inches. Why are you making these noises? And we were expecting a lot bigger baby, so I was super like shocked how small she was. After that, they just cleaned her up, gave me my stitch, obviously took the placenta out, which I didn't feel that at all. I was holding my baby, so I wasn't thinking about that, but it was cool because they wheeled in a mirror so I could see her be born while I was pushing, which I thought was super cool. And when they were stitching in, I saw like all the blood. I was like super scared, but I didn't feel anything at that point. And I couldn't walk for basically that whole day. It was basically my right leg gave out on me. It was asleep for a super long time, and it was swollen for a little bit. But the next day I was fine and walking, and everything was really good. And then I took her home 2 days later. And yeah, it was like a really amazing experience, but the birth itself happened so fast. My labor only lasted 12 hours, which they were so shocked because they're like, normally for first moms it can last 20 to 24 hours. So I was like ready to have her on October 1st, but September 30th, and I was like laughing that I had her on September 30th because I was like, watch her come on the last day of September and not make it to October. But that's okay. And she's already a week old today, you guys, and it's ridiculous how fast things happen. But yeah, that is my labor and delivery story. And if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down below. Do you want to say hi or no? She's over here. She's so warm. Okay. But if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down below and I'll gladly answer them for you. Again, I'm sorry for the lighting. I'm super white and she's like olive color, so we don't like, the camera's trying to focus on both of us and makes me look white. So yeah, we will see you guys next time.